Okay, folks, what I'm going to try to do right now is I'm going to work on trying to get the intake on, the headers finished up. I got to get the gaskets in here yet. This was just on for mock-up purposes. I hope to get the water pump on, and then the power steering and alternator bracket. And I think then I'll be able to, if I get all that done, hopefully I can get the wiring harness on and see what I got to do to finish that up. So let's get going. What I got to do before I put the intake on is I bought this little adapter. I'm going to be running a mechanical oil pressure gauge, and when I was doing the wiring harness, basically the instructions were to pull the electrical, the electrical gauge sensor off, or whatever you want to call it. So I already have the mechanical gauge in there, so why not use it? So I got this here, and it should just screw, everything should screw right up with this, so that should be all I need. And since it's right behind the intake manifold, I'd rather do it now. That way I don't have to worry about that, trying to reach behind that intake manifold. And since this motor is an 05 or an 06, it has the cam sensor on the front cover here. So and since my harness is from an 02, I believe, I bought this cam sensor wiring extension, and I think that's all I'm going to need to be able to tie it into the harness. I'll just run it under the intake here like this. Okay, so I got this little push rod off of the gas pedal mechanism deal. So now that I've got that kind of out of the way, I'm going to throw the intake manifold on here, get it on, get it all torqued down. I've already gone through and decap the injectors. There's a lot of little videos online about decapping injectors, and it's actually extremely easy. I guess you can get more fuel flow out of them and whatnot. So, okay, let's see here. I'm going to get this all torqued down. I usually get them all started first before I start torquing anything, Looks like everything's lining up pretty good here. Before I put all this on, I had cleaned all the surfaces, on the heads, on the intake, and then I usually go through go over the surfaces of the gasket also with a little brake cleaner, just to make sure it's all, there's no debris on it, no old carbon or nothing like that. And usually I'll go through all these, and then I'll still go back through them again and just kind of double check them to make sure I didn't miss any, Okay, so there's that. Intake's on, torqued down. Got a few hoses to hook up. A little breather hose here. There's the you get the brake booster vacuum hose over here. PCV. I can hook up the fuel line now, whatnot, and then there's a few electrical connections up here. Nothing major. Yeah, okay. And then I'll have to get the little crossover hoses here hooked up for the coolant. You can see I just that slipped right underneath there. That'll work out perfect for the cam sensor extension. And now that I have that, on. I think what I'll do next is I'll quick get the exhaust wrapped up and then we'll do the water pump. So I got this whole header kit off eBay. You know, it's like 150 bucks. Comes with the bolts, the gaskets, collectors with O2 sensor bungs already in them. It's got the V-band clamps, you know, to hook up the collector, which I kind of like. Here we go. Okay. So now, you'll be able to throw the rest of these bolts in. The oil dipstick comes right through the header, so you want to not bolt that down right away, you know. Get these all snug down and torque them really quick. Okay. Now the torquing, not twerking, torquing. Ain't no torquing going on in here. Okay, that side's good to go. Now, if the other side goes just as smooth, we will be looking pretty. So I got that all set up right here, ready. Nice looking deal. Being a Dutchman, you know, you always buy things cheap and then hope they just work out. Most of the time they do. You just figure out a way to make it work. Okay. Don't want to bust any spark plugs off. That sucks. Alright. We'll have to see how this one turns out when it's all tightened down. It is resting on the ear of the transmission bell housing there. You could always shave that ear off a little bit if need be. You may have to take the collector off real quick, shave that, and then throw the collector back on. I can't believe these cheap headers off eBay don't fit, you know? That doesn't make any sense. All right, let's torque this puppy down. Okay, both headers are on, torqued down, and I just got that little collector issue to figure out. It looks like I just got to shave just a tiny bit off, not a big deal. So now, that being done, let's throw the water pump on. Wait a minute, son of a gun. Okay, so now I bought a Champion radiator for this thing. It's a little wider than the original mounting brackets for the radiator. It's not a huge deal because I gotta fab something up for here anyways. But I think that's what I'm going to be doing next after this. That's why I'm not going to be running a clutch fan on here. I got, you know, a electric fan shroud with that radiator. So I'm hoping I'll be able to make it all fit nicely. And then if after this, if I can get the power steering and alternator bracket on there, then I can finish running my power steering lines, the power steering box, and I can also, with all that being done, I could finish off my brake lines there from the master to the junction block. You know, for some odd reason, I never choose to use my impact, and I really wish I would sometimes. Probably save me a lot of time. So I got my power steering hoses right here. And I got the one I gotta pull out back here a minute. I was just kind of acting as a plug. This one will screw in right into place of that one, or the plug. In hindsight, it would probably have been better if I would have put this on before I put the bracket on. Oh, there she is. And this will go right on here. And that is that. So, power steering's on. Like I said, this all here is off of a, like a 2000 to a 2005 pickup, Tahoe or Suburban. The hoses, this pump, that's off a 73 C10. And it literally just bolted or slid right on to the connections, so that is nice. So now that that's on, I think what I'll probably do next, which I don't have time for tonight, is I'm going to try to get the front clip on here just so I can start looking at what I got to do for the radiator, mounting it and whatnot, and clearance, Alright, it's a new day, morning. I'm gonna try to work on getting the engine bay finished up here, do a little wiring, which pretty much means connect everything. I got all the extra stuff tied in there. I did the standalone deal off camera because I'm definitely not the guy you want to use as an example for anything to do with wiring. So I'm going to get the core support on and get the radiator installed, fenders, and I think that's the majority of the stuff up front. So if we can get all that on, then I would hopefully be able to jump over to the interior, and that's about the last thing I got to do on this truck. So they already kind of did everything underneath because I was hoping to be done with everything down there so I could lower the truck down. I'm going to keep it up on jack stands for now, just until I get this front together. I'm going to be kind of under here putting some bolts on and whatnot. I'd rather not be too cramped, And I already extended my I extended the battery hookups too, because the battery's going to be on the passenger side, whereas on the regular or a newer Chevy, it's over on the driver's side here. So I extended those. It's all ready to go. I'll be able to just hook that right up. You got your oil or coolant temp sensor right down here. At first I was going to put just a mechanical temp sensor over here, but I found out that, and I think this is the way it goes, I need the sensor to be going to the computer still so that the fans will run off of the computer setting. So I put that back, the regular sensor back in here, and then I swapped the mechanical sensor, because I still want to run that over onto the passenger head there, and I think that'll actually be a lot better. I've got a couple ground wires down below. I think once I tighten the ground wires down here on the block, I can run around the front here. Good grounds are a necessity. I'm going to wrap this around to the starter, around the bottom here. And I'm going to wrap it right around the bottom of the oil pan here. Normally, there's a hole that this kind of slips into, and then one little bolt. It bolts right onto the side of the motor here, but I think that's part of the oil pan, and since I put an oil pan on, this one does not have that. So I might have to get a little creative or something. Maybe I'll do just let's see, like a little keeper on one of the oil pan bolts. That'll just hold these looms right there so it doesn't get caught by the dampener here. So now, the rest of this will just run right along this side of the motor, right back to the starter. And I think when I switch to this side here, I'm going to move you guys so that you can see a little more of what I'm doing. Oh, let's see here. Let's switch over to this side here. You know, and I got my starter wires coming through there. Wow, that's a tight fit by my header there. But that's okay, I'm just gonna kind of slide under here and snag them. That's another reason why I left the truck up on jack stands, because you just can't reach everything from up top. So there's basically 3 hookups down, or 4 hookups. I got a ground on this side as well, and then I have the wire that goes to the wire from the straight from the battery. This S terminal wire that goes to the starter solenoid there, and then I have one more plug-in back here, which is the crank sensor, I believe, and that is kind of right tucked in behind the starter. So I have the wire ran down for the O2 sensor already. That's already plugged in. Like I said, the stuff in the back there is already plugged in. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much about it. Once I get the starter wired in and this ground on this side, I think I can start throwing some body parts on the front here, and we're going to be getting closer to getting ready to rip. Okay, let's get these starter wires on. I'd like to get that crank sensor in first. Someday maybe I could get myself a nice 2-post lift or something like it. Okay, crank sensor installed. And now I'm going to throw the starter wires on. Well, I have a little more access to it before I throw it back up. Alright, I'm going to throw the starter back up there, and that would take care of most, or all of the wiring harness on the motor. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to get the radiator mounted on here and the core support. That way, make sure that all fits. So first things first, I built this radiator support here, and I bought the rubber for it here to sit in, but I didn't have, since the guy I bought it from put a different cross member up front here, I just built this because I didn't have the original to put it on. So this will sit right here, and I am going to be putting a ground to this bolt here. Let me just shave some paint off a minute. Alright, so now I think I'll have a good connection, and I can go ahead and throw this on. Let's see, so this is going to sit kind of like that over the core support, and that will be, let's see here, probably like that. Something like that. I think I'm going to get the core support up here. Make sure it all fits with this on here. So let's go ahead and get that over here. Ooh, right on the money. I got all the mounting hardware for this dealio. Alright, I'm going to be doing a little back and forth here, trying to get this thing lined up. Then I'm going to put it on loosely so I can get the fenders on and make sure those are going to line up. Alright. Oh yeah, they're going to go right there. So there's a rough mock-up of the fender. Looks like I got to go back or in a little bit with my, but I think I can just ride it back a little. That's good. Oh yeah, this got to go in, which you should be able to. Let's see here. You got to come forward with that about a 1/4 inch. I may need to try the other side here too, because I am just not too sure. Yeah, I got to make sure it's going to line up. Let me grab the other one. Okay, we're going to throw this on and see how this side is. Before I go too much farther, that side's going to go back a bit too. Oh, actually, that side's not too far off. And the problem is, just like I was a little worried about, which I thought I had taken care of, I was running into my radiator support right down here. I know what I did. I put my radiator support on backwards. So, back off she comes. Go ahead and throw this over here and pull this back off. Just for a minute. Remember what I said, always wear eye protection. I had drilled the holes on this bracket off to the side to give more clearance. And apparently I forgot about that when I was putting it back in. And just like that, we're back in business. Just throw the core support back on. Oh man, way more room. We'll try this again. All right. Oh yeah. Oh, way better. Okay, see, yeah, now that'll actually be able to bolt up. Look at that. I thought it sat a little lower than that before, but let's see if my upper bracket will sit in there. Okay, obviously I got to tighten everything down, but there it is. So, let's see. I still got to figure out some radiator hoses. I got to hook up the transmission cooler lines and whatnot. I have the cooler already in the core support here. And the line's already run. I already have the wiring for the fan all in. I just gotta hook it up. Once I get this all done, I can jump over to the interior, and we will see you on the next episode.